I'm always interested in meeting new people and the brokers who have the eye essentially to understand our value add and what we're in the market to do. That's really what I care about the most, is finding the right relationships. So if it turns out to be it's 5 more new brokers, in the rest of this year that are, fantastic, then I know I'm gonna be happy with that, because I know I can trust them to provide those types of deals.
Hi, and welcome to the Ask a Private Lender podcast. As always, I'm Lawrence from Mortgage Automator, joined by Joseph Fuchs. And today, our guest is Reid Quan. Reid's the Director of Business Development and Real Estate for Breakwater Investments out of Burlington, Ontario. Reid, thanks for dropping by today. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure, gentlemen. Thanks
for coming by, buddy.
And I don't know if you've listened to any of our podcasts before, if you've tuned in any of them, but we like to jump into it right off the bat. And one of the things I'm always curious about is how people got into the industry, because it's an interesting industry. It's not something that people go to school for. So tell us your story. How did you get into it? How did you get started with Breakwater? We'd love to hear about it.
Okay, so I'll actually go way back, because I think that kind of ties into the full story first. But my passion for real estate in general really started at a young age. Earliest memories, I honestly think like 7 years old. I'm grateful for that, because I had family members who were very passionate and put it in front of me. But also, it was like this thrill of the hunt, like finding a property for a family member, helping them, like being like the assistant, and really kind of sinking your teeth into it. So real estate's always been top of mind for me, and something I saw myself going into eventually. And I got old enough, and sure enough, I really actually started in the home building and land development industry. That's kind of where actually I would say I started. And it was where Joseph, maybe you even met me or knew about me all the way back then, was working for a company called Curb Signs, which is a signage.
Yep, I did.
For the land development and home building industry. So love that industry. Honestly, didn't think I was ever going to leave it. I ended up working for a home builder that just, once again, supported my thoughts and really felt like this was home for me. And then one day I had a conversation with the CEO of the company, and he said, "Reid, I think you should learn more about the financing side to these projects and become more well-rounded that way. Learn about even exits and things like that could be beneficial in your career." So I ended up leaving the home building company and found myself trying the financing route. So I hooked up with a company called the Financing Hub, specializing in commercial mortgages. And from there, it kind of took off. It added another layer of passion. It added another layer of just where I felt at home. And shortly after the Financing Hub, or about 2.5 years after the Financing Hub, let's say, I stumbled upon this little family office called Breakwater Investments. And it's not that little, but at the time I was like, family office, don't know much about that. Didn't really have much experience with that. So did a little digging, essentially connected with a few people here. And next thing you know, I was the next business development manager for the for the Breakwater Investments.
Very good. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a good progression to go from like understanding real estate and building and that whole world to the financing side. I think it would be strange to go the reverse way. True. Where you're lending money and you don't have all that experience. So no, I think it's great to get that experience and then jump into the financing world. Obviously not something that you saw happening, but over time, I mean, the progression is there. And that boss that you had, I mean, it's very interesting that he kind of saw that that's like could be a passion of yours and direct you to a different area, because a lot of times when people have a great person they're working with, it's like I'm going to hold on for dear life. Yes. Right? I'm not going to encourage them to maybe leave me. Right. So kudos to that individual, whoever that is, and wherever you are. You're obviously doing a great job there. And so let's talk about Breakwater Investments. It's a family office in Burlington.
Correct.
I'm assuming that mortgage investment is just one arm of what they do. It's typically family offices do a lot of things.
Bingo.
And in that one arm, that financial services, that investing into mortgages. You're the business development director, so your job is what? To reach out to brokers, to bring in more business. What is your overall goal working with Breakwater?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Number one, Breakwater is multifaceted. It's not just lending, which is the primary function of Breakwater Investments, however, but we also focus on actual owning of real estate and holdings. But in terms of my specific role and what I'm responsible for, business development, of course. So like you pointed on, working with lots of brokers, other lenders, realtors, really bringing in mortgage origination to our team. And then also looking for properties as well. So we do a lot of partnering with people. We look at different opportunities to purchase properties and other investments as well. It's a wide array of what we look for. There's no one set opportunity on the acquisition side, let's say, open to many different types of property types and asset classes. But the lending side is a bit more specific, and I can definitely touch on that further.
Please.
It's something that a lot of people don't know, like what a family office does and how it translates to lending. So we like to call ourselves specialists, put it that way. We really look at single family, multifamily, industrial, mixed use, and blanketing portfolios and things like that. So very specific, very I would say actually very applicable to today's market right now. I think multifamily, industrial, both of those are shooting through the roof in terms of activity. But those are the main kind of property types we look at. Go ahead, Joseph.
No. Keep going.
Okay, so we're I would say maybe a bit more conservative than most. So 65% loan to value is our max. I think we're competitive in pricing. We're typically around 7.5% for rates, 1.5% for fee.
What's interesting, Lawrence, is that this is actually the first time we're interviewing someone who's coming from a family office background. Usually we're dealing with either syndication or mix or some sort of other fund type structure. So it sounds like there's a little bit more flexibility from just being able to put out X amount of dollars. Certain funds don't either like to do small stuff or big stuff. You guys are kind of doing a bit of everything. You have that flexibility. They seem to have an understanding of that, a wide range of real estate, like industrial, commercial, residential, obviously multifamily. How has it been like being able to get deals approved? Like what would you say is, something that, without them having to follow certain compliance protocols, having it be their own money, what gives you think, your advantage at Breakwater?
You summed up a lot of key points there. Yeah, flexibility, I think, is the right word to use, Joseph. I think that's something that really applies to us. You touched on check size. You touched on a couple of things there that I think are our value adds, and not having, as I'm going to call it, red tape. It makes it very easy to get deals done quicker, more efficiently. I think the underwriting process becomes faster. You have a set criteria, and of course you want to stick to as much of it as possible. However, not having to run it by a full committee or a large team, so to speak, where everyone has their inputs, it allows us to make decisions quicker, and therefore I think the whole process, getting the funding faster, is just much more smoother.
So I was going to say, interesting. You mentioned the red tape part. When you talk about the red tape, I guess someone calls you, right? Hypothetically, they've got a deal. It sounds like it's going to fit within the box. You could pretty much, knowing that they've got the capital available, it's within the guidelines, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, absolute slam dunk, send it in, you'll have a term sheet in basically 30 minutes kind of thing.
Yeah, almost to that exact. Really, it's being equity-based lenders, where we're looking at that property, making sure that the LTV is there, and if the right documentation and borrower profiles available, it checks off a lot of boxes immediately, and then like you pointed out, with making decisions and being able to issue paper, becomes a no-brainer and very quick when we have all the right information up front.
So what's the turnaround time? Like how long does it take if there's let's go from like a simple deal that's a no-brainer that you're going to write all day long to something that's maybe a little bit more complex? What do brokers really get with the service there in terms of getting a term sheet or closing a deal?
Great questions. And realistically, the brokers that I work with very frequently very much understand how we operate, which is provide as much as possible up front. And we have, some specific documentation that will provide you that helps, kind of track where you are and Now being on Mortgage Automator as well too, it makes life easier to keep track of a lot there as well. So I feel like having that documentation and being able to keep track of it on Automator, once again, very grateful for that, is a huge help. And being able to issue, let's say, a little guideline of, we need X, Y, and Z, really minimal documentation. Once we get that in, our turnaround time internally for reviewing it and understanding that deal and really sinking our teeth into it, 24 hours in most cases. I think we get funding in most cases somewhere between 5 and 10 days later for most property types, if that documentation is upfront. Once again, we've done deals as quick as 24 hours, 48 hours on rush cases, and we've had some massive transactions that have been weeks and weeks and months, as you guys know.
Of course.
Yeah. What I like about family offices is like, and you brought it up a little bit in what you were saying is, there's no like clear, like black and white, box. It's, you guys can make a decision on any deal at any point in time, whether you want to do it, you don't want to do it. It's not like you have a list of investors that you need to go through and find, who's it going to be right for, or you have an operating, a memorandum that says you're only going to invest in this black and white box. You can really do whatever you want, right? So
you could change your guidelines anytime you want. Someone's in a good mood one day. Sure, why not? Let's write this deal for $3 million.
Or I love the property. It's higher of an LTV than maybe I would normally go, but I love the property. I love the bore. Let's just do it and get it out the door, right?
You guys touched on a couple of great points. Just because it has happened, right? I've seen it. We've been a part of it. Is the fact that during COVID, for example, we want to tighten up the height of COVID, let's call it. We really try to tighten up what we were lending on because we didn't know the appetite. We didn't know the risk profile. We didn't know how things were going to change. So it became an interesting time for us to really care about what we're making sure the money's going out towards. It's a very, very, interesting situation. No one has ever gone through before, really. So
sure.
That was one aspect of it. So that's a great point. And then the other point I think is we do have this criteria. Of course, every lender has that kind of set criteria that they want to stick to as much as possible. But being that we are, let's say, based out of Burlington, right? We love deals in our backyard. We know the properties very well. We know the areas very well. It's an easy decision for us to say, okay, it's 67, 68, 70% loan to value. It's worth it on this one. So we're able to adjust that, like you said, on the fly, and really understand the value a lot more when it's a little bit closer to home. But even pricing, we try to go in for an all-in 9% roughly, yield. And sometimes we want to be competitive and really, really win that deal. It's a no-brainer opportunity. Okay, we'll make it 8% or 8.5% or something like that to be competitive and win that opportunity.
So that's all in. So I'm assuming you're talking first mortgages.
Correct.
Right, in that range. Do you guys do seconds at all, or is it strictly a first mortgage office?
No, we'll do some seconds as well. We have a couple on our books still. We don't advertise, let's call it, something we really look for day to day, but we're not going to turn down a low LTV opportunity for a second mortgage, and especially if it's in a geography that makes sense. But primarily first mortgages, and like I said, just really open to seeing what's out there right now in Southern Ontario, let's call it. So really
sure.
Barrie to the north, Windsor to the west, Kingston, Ottawa to the east, and of course, the Niagara Falls, Golden Horseshoe to the south.
What would you say like some of the challenges are with working with a family office, and not to doesn't have to be like your internal stuff, but like, is there something that's maybe a little bit harder or something that you'd like to do that maybe you aren't right now, that you could see in the future really opening up? Or
I would say some of the challenges are, and I'll use specifics. So like this family office, 65% loan to value does hinder some opportunities.
Sure.
Of course, being conservative and finding the right deals is paramount, but sometimes it's 67, it is 70%, and it might just be outside of our maybe kind of preferred areas, let's call them, but we have to pass. It's just not good enough, unfortunately, to do it ourselves under a first mortgage, maybe an A/B split with somebody else, or maybe a first and second opportunity as well, we'll consider. But being that we are primarily first mortgage lenders, that's a challenge that we will see. And also just with right now with rates and how things are, we're not seeing as much residential as we typically would.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot more commercial, which is fine by us. It's something we pride ourselves in, but the residential deal flow, just being competitive with that pricing is also tough because we still need to produce a respectable yield for the family.
See, yeah, I think everyone is doing res right now. The rates are being compressed. The fact that you guys are able to write commercial deals is
A huge advantage
huge,
for sure.
huge, because not everyone does, and
Bingo.
not everyone understands that business. So talking about commercial deals, because I think everyone's looking for a great commercial lender, right? Because commercial deals, they float around. Where do we send them? We don't know what to do. What kind of commercial products are you writing on? Are they gas stations? Are they multi-res, which you talked about earlier? So I guess that's a yes.
Yep.
But expand on what you're looking for in the commercial side.
No problem. And to really, really hit home on our wheelhouse, what's in our wheelhouse, it is truly multifamily. That's probably we look at the most. And now, like I was alluding to earlier, industrial is really creeping up for us. We've seen a lot of industrial deals come in lately, very, very solid deals, opportunities that, would probably have been maybe slightly on the back burner to look at, just because we know we can take our time with a little bit more with when the residential deal flow was coming in a lot more. So now that it's there and now that we're seeing a lot of it, it's something we're very keen on because we do have some expertise and some quite a lot of experience in a bunch of these spaces. So those two for sure. I would say the mixed use as well, something we've always been pretty keen on, especially because we're in that Hamilton, Golden Horseshoe. We do see a lot of those types of properties on your main streets in your downtown kind of smaller cities. So we get a chance to look at a bunch of those, which is great. And the one thing that we're really kind of avoiding right now, and many commercial lenders will probably say the same, a lot of hospitality, a lot of restaurants, gas stations, hotels, things like that, retirement homes, things of that nature as well too. It's just something we've never been really keen on. However,
Yep.
we've made exceptions, but those are kind of the ones that we typically would not actively seek out. And currently right now, it's something we're definitely not interested at the moment.
Very
I still think it's it's still a broad range type of properties, especially because you're opening up the entire Golden Horseshoe, like basically the entire 401.
Yeah.
There's a lot of real estate across that highway. So I don't think that there should be a limited amount of business. I think you guys are probably fairly busy at this point, it sounds like.
I would definitely say busy is the right word, and grateful to be so. I know there's a lot of people right now too that are just seeing a lot of recycled deals. They're seeing opportunities that are just really not up their alley. So it's been nice to have some steady deal flow of the type of deals we want to see, and I really applaud our broker relationships for that. So there's a lot of hardworking brokers out there that really work hard to get those types of deals to us, and it's something that we wouldn't be here without them. That's the way we do our business.
So for sure, you guys are on the Filogix drop down. People can find you. They can submit deals to you. Do you prefer brokers to reach out to you first to introduce themselves before they send something over, or anyone send? We're happy to look at it. What's your process for vetting the brokers, meeting the brokers? Who should they contact? I guess it's you, but if we can touch on some of that there.
And before you answer that, Rita, just to literally touch and add on to Lori's point, are you, since it's that family office, are you looking to just have 15, 20 extremely close relationships with the same people and over again, or like other people in the industry who might have 200 brokers sending them a deal every 3 months? What's your outlook on that? Like
the sweet spot for us, I mean, ideally, if we can, have another, I would say at least another 20, 30 that are very close brokers. I mean, that'd be ideal because that would really prop up our close base. We have, like I said, quite a good stable right now. However, I'm always interested in meeting new people and the brokers who have the eye essentially to understand our value add and what we're in the market to do. That's really what I care about the most, is finding the right relationships. So if it turns out to be it's 5 more new brokers, in the rest of this year that are, fantastic, then I know I'm going to be happy with that because I know I can trust them to provide those types of deals. But to answer your question, Lawrence, I love meeting new people. It's an important part of my role. I love the conversation. So of course I would ask anyone, feel free to get to know me, call me, email me, get a chance to set up something with me. Cause I think that's going to go a long way for you. You'll learn a lot, I think a lot quicker than reading from a website or a screen. and you get that opportunity I get to learn more about your sweet spot and what you look for, and vice versa, right? So it makes it a little bit easier to start the back and forth of doing deals together. But yeah, being on Filogix, being on Lendesk now, of course, we're always monitoring through the Mortgage Automator platform, trying to make sure that we're seeing everything and catching everything as they come through. So excited to be on, because that's something that was a big goal of ours, was to get more exposure, especially as a family office. Not a lot of people know what a family office does, and
Yep.
Everyone's thinking about mix and administrators and almost the sexy terms. We're probably not as sexy, so it's a nice way to be able to receive deals through technology, which is something we're proponents of, and allow us to be able to capitalize on those opportunities pretty quickly.
Not as sexy, but just as much capital, maybe even easier to work with.
You're hitting the right words. Exactly. Yeah.
Being able to build good relationships. I get it. I get it completely.
Perfect.
And from a family office perspective, like, how do you go and how do you market yourself in a way? And, because family offices typically, they don't want to be on the billboard, they don't want to be on the television commercial. It's like their own little office, and they do a lot of business out of that office, but it's kind of like you got to be in the know to deal with them. This is a way to be able to start a relationship off just simply by sending deals through Filogix, or just picking up the phone and calling Reid.
Yes, absolutely. And the funny thing about, we've kind of had this internal discussion about how we would categorize ourselves. How do we advertise in a manner that is in line with our values and our core kind of principles, right? And not being, throwing everything out on billboards, like you mentioned. So what's kind of the way to look at it? I would consider us like sophisticated, but almost humble, right? Like it's a fine balance of, we know what we're doing. We don't necessarily need to, blast our name out there, so to speak. We're looking for the right types of deals. We're looking for the stuff that makes sense to us, because like you both have touched on, we have the capital. I think we're very easy to work with. I think the plan is that our goal is to be the most approachable private lender in Ontario. That is, we wake up to it every day. So that's something that we want to be. And through those kind of keywords, being sophisticated, being humble, being, understanding of who we're working with, to me, we're well on our way.
So you've been in the mortgage business for a little over 5 years now. I have to know, and we always ask everyone who jumps onto the podcast, your most memorable deal over that period of time.
I think the deal that stands out to me the most was one of the first deals that everything really clicked for me, if that makes sense. And said, wow, like, I worked on this from start to finish, and it went smoothly. It was fantastic. All parties involved were just, were top-notch people. And I still talk to both people involved in that transaction today, and quite frequently. So it's really cool that way. But it was a larger transaction. It was actually up in the Muskoka area, believe it or not. It was an industrial type deal. It was a property that the ownership had very, very big dreams for and aspirations, and were in a very good position to do what they wanted to do. So it was a nice way to see the entire process come together, with the borrowers being happy. I think everyone on the lending side and the broker side coming together and working extremely hard to get it done. And it's an area that is sometimes underserved, or it's an area that is, not as popular as well too. So to actually get a deal done of that magnitude, I'm talking, if memory serves, I think it was north of $7 million.
Holy.
It was a really cool opportunity to be a part of, and one that was somewhat in the beginning, towards the beginning of my career, right? It was, like I said, where I really thought, like, wow, this really clicks, and I'm in the right spot. I'm on the right side. I know what I want to do. And here we are, 5+ years later, or whatever it was. So it was very memorable.
Well, it was an industrial building in Muskoka, or what?
Yeah, industrial type building. Yep.
Interesting. Interesting. And did they end up following through with what their plans were? Like, did it happen?
As far as I know, everything has gone according to plan. The end goal of the property is, I believe, there, if not very close to it. I would imagine by now it's got to be done, just with the sheer amount of time that's passed. But it was a lofty goal, so to speak.
Yep.
They had the right team in place, and everybody saw the vision. So it was just really, really cool to see something of that magnitude. Like I said, just how big the space was, the amount of work that needs to be done, but also how important it would be for the community, which is also a nice part.
Sure. I like to hear that. I think it's a great story. I know Joe probably wanted to hear you got your money back and then the building fell over, but that's Joe. That's his whole
I
outlook
like to
on
stay
things.
positive. Okay.
Absolutely. But no, I mean, north of 7 million in Muskoka. I mean, that just shows you, like,
there's deals to be
family
made
office can
everywhere.
do anything.
Yeah, family offices. There's deals to be made everywhere,
Yeah.
and if it's a really cool industry to be in, and I'm glad to see that you've gone from like you said, you started from one side. You've been doing this now for 5 years, and there's a lot of cool things you're still going to experience over time. You're going to see some cool, crazy stuff with deals. Lending in COVID. It's funny. People tell us about the 90s. The 90s, it was a disaster. There was this, there was that.
22% rates and this and yeah.
We've gone through 08. We saw what happened in 08. We saw what happened in 17. There were 40% increase and definitely 35% drops. If you were buying or selling at the wrong time, it was bad for you. And then COVID. To lend money to people during a pandemic. I hope we never have to go through it again, but it is something we did experience. And it looks like overall the entire ecosystem, the private lending ecosystem seems to be doing well through it. So just,
scary. What it is? It's scary because no one's dealt with it before.
Correct.
It's not like you can look back and say, oh no, this is what happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
This is cyclical.
One-time event. So really no clue. And there were some companies that just kept going and lending, and
I would have calls with guys. I'm saying, so what are you doing during COVID? Oh man, I'm going I'm putting my head down and I'm going to, and what's funny, because luckily it worked out for them and I'm really happy for these people and they're good friends of mine. And then there are other guys who are like, I'm not touching anything for 4 months. And it could have also been the right, it did maybe that was a little bit too long of a hold off. But the point is, they were concerned. They were worried that prices could drop 40%. We didn't know how bad the virus was, right? So
I'll be transparent with you because I totally want to comment on this. I actually made a lot of calls during this time, and Joseph, you might have been one of them for sure. I think about it on what you guys were up to, and I got a wide array of answers, like you touched on. It was people who are bullheaded and going through it, and knock on wood and see what happens. And
came out the other side.
Yeah,
the yellow came out the other side, but
there's a lot of people who were just full stop, right? And I would say we were on the more conservative side, and we definitely, I would say, took a pause for a breather, let's call it, because we still were lending just a lot more cherry pick type of deals. And decided, what, it's not worth it right now to really go full steam ahead, in our opinion. However, those who did and made it through, like, kudos, and that's the way what makes the world go around, right? You have to have that kind of balance of some of lenders who are doing things, not doing things, and brokers aren't going to stop. So,
but here's the thing, though, to comment on the family office part of it, it would make logical sense for someone like that to take a step back, because they're not trying to make 20% on their money. This is a family that's obviously done very well. They have the money. Their goal is to not lose money. It's
capital preservation.
Yeah, it's to do good deals, turn the money over, but to make sure. So to them, it's like, well, if we're gonna sit back and watch the world unfold, and if it seems to be okay, we'll come back in. And if all hell breaks loose, well, we just watched a lot of other people lose money while we preserved ours.
Coming full circle, really, too, like from the conversation, just. That's why there's other avenues for the family office to make money as well, too, right? It's not just about the lending. So there's other opportunities for us to stay focused on and earn money from that as well, too. So it helped that way, absolutely. But it was tough as well, too. There was some great deals. I kept a list. Of all the deals that I saw, and I was like, you know what? Normally we'd be all over this, but this one we're going to pass on. But I can also refer you to somebody, or I can also try to help you with that, right? And make sure. Still friendly conversation.
So you've surrounded yourself with, obviously successful people. you know, even as far back, even the home building area, you know, when you were working with home builders. You know, a question I always like to ask is, what's the best money related piece of advice that you received from one of these individuals who you've seen are like, they're successful, they're doing something right. I'm going to try and soak in as much knowledge as possible while being around them. Is there something that stands out that you'd like to share?
You know what? This might be partially a lame answer. Let's go there.
Okay.
Let's start with that, because I probably have a two-piece answer to this. But I think there's always someone smarter than you, you know, has more money than you, more experience than you, whatever it may be. So I think you have to go into it with a mindset of, you're not going to win every deal. You're not going to be able to put out this much money on every transaction. You're not going to hit home runs all the time, you know? So it's patience, really, I think, is what it falls down to, is be patient no matter what segment of the industry you're in. So a lot of mentors of mine and people that I would surround myself with close ties, be patient. You know, it's not about hitting the home run every single time. You're going to go through a lot of muck. You're going to have a lot of ups and downs and trials and tribulations. So that's one piece I think that I've learned over the years, is just remaining patient and really all aspects of my life, both personal and professional. I think the other piece though too is that this is now going to be contradicting. Depending on who you speak to, and with our family office, we have a mindset here of, there is a risk that we need to take every once in a while, and there's opportunity to stick to our kind of guidelines that we pointed out, and you know, be steady and be conservative. But we have the opportunity to work on riskier deals. It might not be from the Breakwater fund, let's call it, but because we're a family office and there's access to other funds, we can look at maybe lending through another one of our companies and funds, really, to be able to say, yeah, like, this is a risky opportunity, but why not have some fun with it? Why not learn about it? Why not, keep involving yourself further with these types of deals? Because the more you look at, the more you become more comfortable. And at the end of the day, Absolutely. The risk might not be as risky as you originally thought.
For sure.
Well, that's the benefit of having multiple arms and different ventures within one office. And, you open up one door and you don't know, it may touch other parts of your business and who you're meeting. And so, yeah, I could see that as being an opportunity just to, not just shut everything down, but right. Keep an open mind, and maybe there's something there. And if there isn't, that's okay too, but at least explore the opportunities. So I completely get that. How do people get in touch with you? So they have a commercial deal, they have a res deal, maybe they're not on Filogix. They just want to get a hold of someone and pitch a deal to you. What should they do?
Yeah, 100%. So the best way is really to go through our website. All our information's there. Everything you'll need, from legitimately our lending criteria to, we've created a lending map that shows our preferred areas of where we want to lend, both primary and secondary. So it's not much gray area there. So you'll be able to contact us. You'll be able to learn from us really quickly from seeing what we do, seeing where we lend, and really a bit more about us, including our philanthropic avenues, our what we like to do with the community, just more about Breakwater and who we are ourselves and the roots of us, the core of us. So I think that's a really good tool. It's something we've taken a lot of pride in and recently revamped. So number one, go straight there. Number two, of course, via my email and my cell phone. I'm always available. Don't get much sleep. I try to be active as possible and get a lot of answers out pretty quickly. And that's the consistency piece that I'll touch on too, is just, you'll find that we are consistent. You'll find that we are, getting back to you in the timeframes we say, always trying to help you out and make sure you have the right information.
Brokers, you heard it from Reid. He said he does not sleep much. You can email him and call him at 2 a.m. on a Saturday. He will look at your deals.
My out of office might be on now too.
No, but again, it's Reid Quan, Director of Business Development and Real Estate for Breakwater Investments. Reach out to him, send him a deal, give him a shot. You can see how he works. Golden Horseshoe, predominantly first mortgages up to 65%. They'll creep a little higher than 65. I think he said if it's in their neck of the woods and they can really understand the deal. Residential, commercial is a big one. So don't sleep on Reid on the commercial deals. He's happy to look at them. But yeah, I mean, family office, they can really do anything. these guys are like Superman over there. Whatever you need, they're going to get it done. And
We're gonna get t-shirts made with that. Yeah.
exactly. So no, Reid, listen, definitely a pleasure. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Really appreciate
And
your time.
like I said, give them a shot. Give them a shot. Family offices, they're really good to deal with. Family offices are different than mixed. They're different than syndicate lenders. It's just a different animal, and you're not going to know about it until you give them a shot. So yeah, reach out.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks,
guys. No, it's been a pleasure. It's been a long time coming to be able to discuss with you guys and have this talk, because you guys are great. I really appreciate everything you've done as well for us, and look forward to doing more together.
Awesome.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, Reid.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks to our listeners for tuning in. Follow Mortgage Automator on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and we're Automator Group on Twitter. Go to askaprivatelender.com to check out all the latest podcast episodes, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. So long.